Oh, I totally thought we were.
No, but we are live now.
Woohoo!
Live to the nation. I am not 100% sure that everything is working correctly. So, if there are surprises, then there are surprises. We'll see. Let's see here. Okay, that appears to be showing up. That's good. And it also looks like, yeah, we're still not seeing chat, which is good. So it's like after I did that whole thing where I was only going to put chat on my phone,
Yeah,
like it's just suddenly not an issue anymore.
it hurt you.
Yeah.
There was some sort of updates. Remember, the low power mode became available. So,
It was before that.
oh,
It was before that.
well, I tried to answer.
Anyway,
I tried and failed.
we shouldn't be quiet.
Did I position it incorrectly?
I don't know.
Did you do the mic, the input thingy?
I sure did. Yep, Yeti mic and input.
It is further away. Should I move it closer to us?
But wait, no, it needs to be
Usually
closer
it's
to
closer
you.
to me because
Yeah.
I hear you're louder than I am. I almost said quieter, but that's the exact opposite of what I intended to say.
Yeah, I trust Kobe. I always trust Kobe.
Ooh, Jake is here, so now we can start. Oh, and exciting! You know, I'm here. If you were here last week, you had a solo David stream. This week I'm here.
Yeah, that's exciting.
I was available on Tuesday as well, so I was able to watch Let's Have a Booba. So.
Yeah.
Yay.
Actually, that was after the utter fiasco of last Thursday. Jesse arrived, for jury duty on Monday, and they said, "Go home. You're all done."
Well, and by fiasco, what David means is like at the very last minute, the last possible minute that they could have called me in for jury duty based on my call-in time frame of service was Thursday afternoon, and they did indeed call me in on Thursday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, I had to report at 1 o'clock, so right before we started streaming. And once I got there, I ended up getting sorted into a group that got taken into a courtroom. And we went in and they did their thing. They started the jury selection process. I was not in the jury box, but I was still in the audience, and you have to keep an extra, as people get eliminated, you got to keep extras behind. I was an extra. And they sent us out for like a bathroom break at 3:30 that afternoon, and then we went back in and they were like, well, we're going to send you all home. You have to come back at 9 o'clock on Monday for us to finish this process.
Mm-hmm.
So again, at this point, I'm still not on the jury, but I now have to report a second day to potentially be put into a jury box to see if I get on a jury. And then I reported Monday morning, changed everything so I could be up and ready and at the courthouse Monday morning. They leave us out in the hall for like 20 minutes. We go into the courtroom and the judge says, yeah, you're all dismissed. Go home.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. But that was my jury duty for the year. So I'm
Yeah.
back. That meant that I was available all week, which was good. And now I get to be here today. So
The reason I continued with the stream on Thursday is because I knew that there was going to be a part. So, Jessie was called in and she went. And I knew what was going to happen is that there was going to be a call. And the thing is, if she wasn't a part of that call, then she would be sent home. Mm-hmm. The problem was that I believe they did a general call and then a specific call where they just called names. Is that right?
Well, the first call in is your group number,
Right.
and there's a lot of people in a group. Then you go in. From there, they call names from those big groups. And
Yeah.
there were 2 different trials going on that day that needed juries. And so, like, at the beginning of a week, usually there's more than just 2. But by the end of the week, there were only 2 new trials starting. And so they did the first group, which was really small. A very small group went in. I was still left in the room thinking maybe that's it. But then they brought in a second person and they called a very large number of us. I don't know who was left behind after that, quite frankly. But yeah, I got called in by name at that point. And
Yeah.
I will say the first one was more organized. They did it alphabetically. So I knew when it hit the point that it's like, oh, my name won't be called because it's past the P's. The second one, they were like popcorn all over the place, keeping us on our toes. Never know.
Yeah. Had she survived that one, she could have made it back for the stream, for part of the stream.
I could
anyway.
have, yeah.
And anyway, but live and learn. There it was. And so now we come back, and Bubba has a very interesting question. So every language, we have a word that's based on, like our names, Jesse and David, and this was true of Halgoff as well. Now this language, Lohakish, is a new language, but it is built off the same proto-language, which means that the David and Jesse words are still there.
I have an idea.
Oh, okay.
Because those words are going to undergo more sound changes. So they theoretically should actually sound less like our names by the time they go through the changes. Is that what's going to happen?
Well, let's take.
Let's
take a look.
I
see where you're going.
And so my idea is, as David knows me so well and sees where I'm going, is that we could then introduce, keep those words as part of the language because they're there, and I know my name meant to lead. I forget what David's name meant in this language.
I think it's fruit. Is that right?
Oh, or sweet, maybe.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at it as fruit.
Oh, okay.
Unless there's another, because it comes out as dev. Okay.
And so anyway, seeing how they turn out, and then we could end up introducing a new set, or David, if we wanted to introduce new sets of names and these still remain somewhat similar to our names, we could do a different part of our name. So
True.
We could do the vid part for your name.
Yeah. Hold on a sec.
Good old vid.
Is that? I'm sorry. I'm running these through the sound change, and I'm kind of don't believe what I'm seeing. So, the protoform comes out as dive. Is that true?
Yeah, because the AE becomes a diphthong, right? We kept that diphthong in this language.
Huh. I guess it does.
Exactly, Kobe. Favorite stream? We got vid and C here. Ooh, Matisse is here. Yay!
The original McCain and L?
Indeed. So what are you finding? I see it small. It's hard for me to see.
Oh, no. Oh, how dare you, George. How dare you.
I don't mind.
Yeah, I bet you don't. I'd have my middle name changed to yours, too.
I mean, if you wanted to. Maybe spell it without the E.
David John Peterson.
Exactly.
There was a fellow who went to my junior high and high school. Was he there at elementary? That's what I'm not remembering. But June Kim, and June was spelled Joon. He later went on to, he played football at Pacifica. I don't know if he played football in college. He was a good guy, though. There you go, Bubba. So...
Yeah, Bubba, nailed it. Get Genesis in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Matisse, I see your question. I'm going to answer that in just a minute after David finishes his thought.
I'll just say Tongues and Runes Saturday at 6:30 a.m. Pacific, 6 a.m. Pacific. Also at 6:30 a.m., but it will just be still going. So if you actually want to see it from the start, then 6 a.m. Pacific.
Also at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
We could keep going, David.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Matisse, what I meant by synchronic sound shifts, Matisse is referencing something I mentioned on Discord for just a language that I'm working on my own right now. And that, what I meant by that was more like just sound shifts that occur in pronunciation. So they're sort of allophonic, but they are not phonemic. And so, things like the T becoming more dental in words like tenth, where it's like you kind of get that T becoming more dental. These sound shifts rather, are a little bit bigger than that, but they're not. What do I mean?
You meant the N. You said the T.
The T. You get tenth. You can get an epenthetic T in between the N and the theta.
Oh, that's okay. So that's a different thing. It's not the T becoming a little more dental. It's an epenthetic T. Yeah.
Yeah.
10th. Gotcha.
Anyway. That's what I'm referring to, is that there are some like little sound shifts that happen, in part because I had decided when I created the language, I documented that there were no coda stops, and then I clearly created words with coda stops. And so I worked around that by saying, okay, the form itself could have a coda stop, but when it becomes pronounced as a unit, if that remains a coda, then here's what happens to it, where it turns into either a nasal or a fricative, depending on voicing and whatnot. And so, yeah, just some different shifts, but it doesn't actually, they're not phonemic shifts. So you would never see these two things alternately in the same position, meaning something different. And so just little things to keep track of as I create things. No, not really, because when I say small, I mean like really, really small list. And like 3 of them have to do with specific affixes, where it's like if this affix happens after this, like here's what happens. So it's like really specific to some of the affixes and pronunciation. But yeah, the coda stop thing was, I mean, that's just really easy. That's the only one, really. And I was trying to explain why on one part of the document I had said the only codas can be nasals and fricatives. And then later I created things like mokta as words. And it's like, how did that happen? I don't know. If I could go back in time, I would ask
So
2017 me, how did that happen?
it's just a voiceless denasalized nasal.
That's all it is. Yeah. These became voiceless fricatives, actually. So mokta became mohta, is what I did with that. But anywho,
Madeline James, are your children familiar with K-pop Demon Hunters? They seen that yet?
literally just wrote so much K-pop Demon Hunters
Wait.
love in this house.
Oh, yeah.
David did not read.
I wasn't caught up. I wasn't caught up on chat.
Nice. So anyway, no, Matesa just asked
Yeah.
about what I meant by that, and so I was explaining what I meant by that. And I can show you all the new documentation that's hopefully more consistent than it was in 2017 with its new forms
Yeah. If you're looking for
at the end of the month.
if you're looking for anime to watch, Aaron, what you want is One Piece. That'll do you right for a few years. Finally back into it, but only up to like episode 267, I think. Yeah. After I'm done with that, then we can all sit down together and watch all of Dark Shadows.
Me and you?
Yeah, and Natalie. She needs to watch Dark Shadows too.
What's Dark Shadows?
The vampire horror themed 1960s soap opera. It's a real thing in black and white.
Okay. Anyway.
When I started watching it, they didn't even show you episodes before episode like 84, because they're like, this is where it picks up. That's where Willie Loomis finally, uncovers Barnabas Collins, the vampire.
Okay. Well, you can. I'm looking it up on my phone.
Yeah, and once you look that up, and
is it also a 2012 thing?
There was a movie with Johnny Depp. I saw it. It was
2012.
terrible. It didn't have anything to do with it. And then there was also an attempt at reviving it on NBC in the 90s, and it didn't last for long. But the original black and white Dark Shadows is really something to behold. It is a true soap opera with vampires, werewolves, ghosts, the whole bit. And, as a little surprise to you, Jesse,
It takes place in Maine.
it does. This was something that my grandmother watched religiously.
Knowing her, that is interesting.
It was in the before times.
Okay. So my grandmother was a soap opera watcher, but hers were Days of Our Lives and General Hospital. She had 2 of them. And during her 2 soaps a day, she rode a stationary bike. So she would set her stationary bike in front of the TV and ride for 2 hours while she watched soap operas.
See?
That was after she woke up at 5 in the morning to go for a walk before the news started.
She would understand me, see. Now it's my version of it is I go up and I row on my rowing machine while watching an episode of One Piece.
She would tisk that you stop after 1 episode.
Hey, I've got other things to do in my life.
Hey, she had happy hour to get to after her soaps. Okay.
Well,
And this
everybody
is,
should be into Twin Peaks, but Twin Peaks isn't a soap opera. It was at first a parody of a soap opera, but it's like nowhere near as long.
I think I understand now why they didn't start showing it till episode 84. It was apparently 10 months into the run of the show that vampire Barnabas Collins was introduced,
Yeah.
and that's where the show finally hit its stride.
Yep.
So the first 10 months they were waffling and all over the place. They get this vampire in there and they're like, all right.
Yeah, so like the first episode I saw, it's literally Willie Loomis going down and opening up the coffin, and then you see like a hand emerge. And then the next episode is when you see Barnabas Collins for the first time. And let me tell you, he is a very charming fellow. They really nailed it with his casting. And I can just imagine what the previous 80 episodes were like with, who is it? Elizabeth Stoddard and the guy, and like they has this thing where like he has something over her because secretly I think she killed her husband and he knows, and so but he's kind of a Magwitch type character, but honestly it's intolerable. Like, you know, they just kind of say lines at each other and give each other space for it, and he's like, I think you'd better invite me to dinner, Elizabeth. Why would I do such a thing? Well, I think you know why. What do you mean? Well, I think that I know something that you don't want your daughter to know. You wouldn't dare. Oh, but I would. And like, they repeat this little episode like at least once a week. Like she forgets every week that he knows this terrible secret about her and he has to remind her.
Every week.
Intolerable. It's the worst part of the show as far as I've seen. So yeah, they needed a Barnabas Collins.
I am fascinated by the fact that they so the 2004 attempt to remake it, there was a 2004 attempt to remake it, I should say. They made a pilot.
And this was after the 90s one?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know
But they
about
call
that.
it an unsprouted pilot remake. It didn't bloom and grow. And that just tickles me. Okay, so anyway, that's Dark Shadows. And as a side note, yes, I know what that grandmother watched, yes, because anytime we visited her, we knew there was the middle of the day and you did not get in the way of grandma and her soaps. And so we knew. And then briefly, my sister and I started watching Days of Our Lives because of my grandma. So.
Yeah. See, for me, the only thing that interested me
I
was
saw
the
her
fact
twice.
that there
Once a
were
year.
vampires. And let me tell you, there were some really good episodes of Dark Shadows where it's like, they spend, 15 episodes threatening that something's going to happen. And then something happens, and it happens, man. It's pretty darn good. It's pretty darn good. But like one thing, like, for example, Jesse and I watched Penny Dreadful, which was a show I worked on, and Jesse hadn't seen it. And you can definitely see the echoes of Dark Shadows in that show.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, we should get to it, David. 22 minutes of talking now with 10 minutes about anime and soap operas.
I mean, this is, our stream is like an anime or soap opera. This is just like 20 minutes of recap.
There's something.
1 minute moving the plot forward, and then just people shouting at each other. All right. So let's put this back on. No. Let's do the poll. Let's do the poll. The poll is was kind of a standalone one. It's something that eventually that we just do when we have downtime, and Jesse wasn't here, so it's like it seemed like a good time to do this. We were deciding on two things: one, the style, and two, the form, I guess, of the orthography. And so I want to go over what the crucial bits are. So first, I have here some examples of Hauhoff characters. So these are final Hauhoff characters. I don't know why I didn't do them in the font. I mean, you can see them all right here, but you can see they're kind of like these curly gugas. That was what ended up winning out. It looks pretty cool, but functionally, the way this works, did I show? No, I didn't show that. Here, I'm actually just going to do this up here. Nice and big so everybody can see. Okay, so let's say that this is a glyph that stands for the M sound, M, right? And if it occurs with a vowel before it, well, it's got to be in the same font. Sorry, let's do it this way.
Are you typing something we should be seeing?
Yeah.
Love you.
There's the M, all right. Okay, now if it co-occurs with a vowel, then the vowel actually kind of like does a separate little thing sometimes. See, there's EM, that one's AM. This is OM. Oh, because it needs extra space.
Like you were like, oh.
Yeah, this is OM, right? And that's UM with the little tail, right? And it got kind of complex because we had to account for double vowels, and so there's this whole thing in there anyway. But anyway, it's kind of like they're consonantal glyphs, also some standalone vowel glyphs, but when there's a vowel that occurs before another consonant, it forms a little unit. It has kind of a reduced vowel, or it gloms on and morphs the thing in some way. This is because most of our words were monosyllabic and they were CVC, right, maximally, and so it made sense for this. There's also mutations, so that there's just a little diacritic here that shows a palatal mutation, a nasal mutation, and a intervocalic mutation. And these will have varying effects on the consonants. I chose a bad one since it was M. There's not really a change there, but for others, there's often a big change. Anyway, so the point is for Lohakish isn't really that type of a language. And so we wanted to ask ourselves, what are we going to do? with the orthography, both in terms of style, just the look of it, because obviously we wanted it to look different if we weren't going to use the exact same orthography, but how it would function. So one option. So first we kind of like went through two different style options and two different function options. The first style option, this one was actually one that we had. We are back on our that we had as an option for Halgoff, but didn't win. And so it was much sharper, much more angular, and it had these kind of funky serifs. And so I thought, well, let's bring that back, give it a shot. Then we had this other one, which looked different on paper when I was just sketching it, and then it ended up looking like this. Anyway, it's kind of rounded, but importantly, crucially, we had one of the ideas for Halgoff was that we were going to have all of the glyphs moving from the bone era to the modern era. We were going to have them occur with a 90-degree turn to the right. So that would be a clockwise turn. Is that right? Yeah.
It is, but what was funny is you did the hand motions to the right for you. So to me, I'm looking at it and I'm like, no, that's counterclockwise, but it's because I was watching your hands go to my left. You're right. It was a little bit backwards there for me. But yes, you are correct.
So I withered your shins is what you're saying.
You sure did.
All right. But to give you a nice, easily identifiable example, you see this character up here kind of looks like an H, looks like that in Halgoff 2. Over here, you can see it's been turned to the right. And so now it kind of looks like a funky capital I. Anyway, so those were the two styles. And then in terms of function, we were going to have, so I screwed this up, but basically we were going to come up with either an alphabetic form saying that it's so departed from Halgoff.
You have a moment for the aircraft. Because I don't know how loudly they pick it up, but
it's a plane jet.
It feels so loud that I feel like I'm struggling to hear you.
Yeah, I know.
It's a pledicopter.
Pledicopter.
You never know whether it's a plane, jet, or helicopter making noise.
Yep. Anyway, so one option was to actually make an alphabet, just expand the number of vocalic characters because there's a lot more vowels in Lohakish than there are in Halgoff. And they also appear in some surprising places, so we would just say, you know what, heck with it, we're going to just create some new vowels. Or do the Halgoff thing, and then just have our own versions of how the diacritics work. And this one was kind of funny because I kept on forgetting how the 90-degree shift worked. And so I was like, oh, for this one, I need some space over here. Let's put it right up against the line. And then I was like, oh, no, wait, no. And then the same thing here.
Tail.
Yeah.
I just need a moment to revel in your adorableness.
All right. So that was the poll. And the results came up with a winner. First,
the way you said that, though.
First, red was favored over green. And so we're going to do the 90-degree shift. And whatever the hell that is, I'm going to have to make sure it's different from Nili Su. And then the alphabet was favored slightly over the Abugida.
Okay, so alphabet, and you said the shift.
Yeah, the red one.
Okay.
I am just going to make sure that I have that correct. Yeah. No, wait, yeah. Hold on a sec. Yeah. Yeah, even if you added everything up, yeah, it's definitely. I mean, red over green is the easy one, and alphabet over Abugida is pretty clear. So, clear result, and there it is.
Yay!
Oh, how anatomically correct was this tiger biploridian? I often wonder how much. So, Bibleridian is talking about running a game. I'm assuming some sort of a role playing game, and I wonder how often the biological side of his brain interferes with things.
As he eats the other characters instead of
Yeah,
just interacting with them.
yeah. Incidentally, Bibleridian, is there going to be some sort of role playing game that you're running during KopiCon? Just asking.
Oh my god. Do you imagine? What if we charged admission to the game where Bib is DMing?
You know what we should do? We should charge admission for is a rematch between me and Bibleridian and dad jokes.
Yeah, they're not going to get their money's worth though. He's going to defeat you in like 10 seconds, and then what?
It's gonna be like the Kimbo Slice fight all over again. Hold on a sec.
Okay. Anywho. What's the Edinburgh Fringe?
It's the biggest event in Edinburgh, and I dare say might be the biggest like convention in the UK. It started off as a comedy festival, but it's kind of like expanded to comedy festival and music festival and general art festival. Completely takes over the city of Edinburgh.
Wow. Bib's tiger got wings. Okay, sorry.
Nice. Yeah.
I feel like I cut you off, but like I saw that and I had to say something. 3 weeks in August. Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, you can become a fringe friend. So, artists, performers. $3,000 shows. There's tickets to more than 3,000 shows available.
Oh yeah, it's massive.
Wow. I feel like I'd be overwhelmed.
Wow, really, Kobe? That's interesting.
Is Fringe like something? Because Ragdoll says that they have Adelaide Fringe there and it's pretty big.
Oh, it was probably just they took the name.
The name?
Yeah. That's what they.
How interesting.
You know, with they after San Diego Comic-Con became really, really big, people started putting on a lot of Comic-Cons in different places, and then they like went to court and trademarked the phrase Comic-Cons so that you couldn't use it anymore. That's why like one of the ones I had been invited to, Denver Comic-Con, had to rename itself. I think the only ones that are, let's see, New York Comic-Con and San Diego Comic-Con are owned by the same people, so they can use the name. But they don't use it for WonderCon. It was also owned by the same people. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, this week.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot, like, I'm not going to give details in case people can go back and play games backwards, but it was a very special week for me as the word I had been using as my starting word in Wordle was the word of the day this week.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was very exciting. And that's all I'll say right now. But I think some people, if you're a paid subscriber, you can go backwards and play games in the past.
But it's kind of a big deal.
Oh, Boa, yeah. But yeah, I was very, very excited. Where are you located, Aaron? Isn't it? I think I had a very specific location area in mind for where you might be, Aaron, and in my mind, you're actually closer than most people to Kopicon 2. I think what David just typed means I may be correct about thinking where you are. It's like we're pretty darn close. Madeline says as she's had to plan a trip to get over there. Ooh, yay, Dino Nid. Oh, I guess we are holding it on a Friday afternoon. So Kopicon 3, we could make a Saturday afternoon, maybe.
Depending on where it is, maybe we could do 2 days.
Oh. So, David.
Did we do this as a poll? Because I feel like we did, so I feel like we need to actually do it. I think that was what the previous poll was, but you weren't here.
I wasn't here to hear the response, and I guess you didn't type it up.
No, no, I didn't. I was waiting for you. But I was.
But what was the response? I don't even know what the results were. Oh my gosh.
No, I told you it was the one that you liked. Remember?
Yeah, which one was that?
Let's see.
Well, Tinglish, it's not just UK culture. It's also Southern California culture. I swear. Anyone who has to travel 3 hours for something by road.
It just depends. Like, if you live in Orange County, you hate having to drive to LA. And if you live in LA, you don't drive to Orange County. Simple as that.
And the amount of cajoling it took for me to tell David when I moved here, no, I really do need to drive my things out. Which means road trip. You were not excited.
No, I don't like the idea of road trips. I don't like sitting in a place for a long time. I don't like getting dirty. I don't like being inside of things and feeling hot and cramped. I don't like air conditioning. Like everything about a road trip, I don't like.
You love hot weather places.
Being outside in hot weather with,
you turn
little
yourself
clothing
into
on.
a burrito with a blanket at night. Is that not a cramped, hot space?
When it's cold out, yeah. But
anyway.
Oh dear. And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, and that was the other thing. I wonder if we have a photo of this, but you should have seen the U-Haul that Jesse and I were driving. It was 2 seats, but there was like an eternity and a barrier in between.
There was no barrier, which is why we were able to put all the groceries and stuff right there between us.
That was the barrier. The groceries were the barrier. And there was a big old like shifty thing.
Anyway, I grew up on road trips, and so to me it's not a big deal. So a big road trip is just what you do. And I will say I have not been on a road trip since being married to David.
Yeah, that's true.
My last road trip was in fact my moving trip.
Mm-hmm.
Alas.
So we've had to drive to San Diego a couple of times.
That's not a road trip.
If it takes more than 2 hours, it's a road trip.
It only takes 2 hours because you're sitting on the road. That's not a road trip.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. David.
Yeah, so...
Option 3-1. We're shaking our wet fur, and we're creating something new.
Yes, and I think that we should also follow Magpie's suggestion.
100%.
And use that expression for comitative. So let's start there since we know what it is and figure out how that is going to be reified.
Anime fan wants to know if they missed anything important by stepping away for a few minutes. Yeah, I'm gonna say not much. Not much.
Can you imagine driving from West Virginia to Disney World?
I mean, that's how like most people in that part of the country, like their big trips are road trips. And quite a few people have Florida as a destination for their big family road trips. Now, my family, my dad did not like going east, so the furthest I ever went east with my dad in charge was Indiana. That was the furthest east I ever went.
Wow.
Later, we did go to Kentucky and stuff, but like, again, never further east than that with my dad in charge. West, we went all over the place,
Of course, Bubba's going to say that.
but
Get outta
east,
here.
not so much.
That's how you know the opposite is true.
This one actually is Magpie's Miracle. That's right. The
Yeah.
actual Magpie Miracle.
I mean, Magpie, we're so grateful to Magpie, especially for Magpie's Miracle, which is why it's called Magpie's Miracle.
Uh-huh.
Now, if we wanted something called Jonathan's Miracle, it would be how Jonathan would get the cookies that they just baked over here right now. That would be Jonathan's Miracle.
No, but I could get out. But I'm going to make you wait till after the stream. After the stream, David and I will enjoy some cobbler and ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
But I say we have to wait till after the stream because the spoons actually clink loudly on the bowls, and I feel like that
Yeah.
would be really annoying for everybody on the listening end. And I want David to have his space to lick his bowl out.
Ooh, road trip from Jonathan to bring us cookies all the way
Yay!
from Baltimore. I
What
feel free to
was-
say it out loud because it's not true.
What was our comitative from Hoppa?
So that's what I wanted to discuss. So obviously we have the the thing.
The mutation?
Thank you. We have the mutation, and so dal is side, and when that becomes a phrase, it's onala, which means and is also with, and so that is at the side of onale. And if we were to do that in Lohakish, we wouldn't have the mutation, and so I did want to see what that would end up being. Mm-mm. Okay. Oh, we would just say that it assigns the genitive. So this would actually just be the locative of side, wouldn't it? And that comes out as ondao. If we want to use, if we want to use the hawaf word for side
Mm-hmm.
in Lohakish.
How does it come out again? Dao?
Yeah, I'm pretty, I only did the locative, but I'm pretty sure, yeah. Dao. So dao, not Dao. Because we've got that distinction.
Say it again?
Dao, not Dao.
Okay.
Well, think about, you hear somebody say, how are you doing? Sounds normal. Hear somebody say, how are you doing?
Well, that's
Sounds-
a good old howdy.
Sounds a little off.
I mean, as a preposition type thing, it could become smaller. Like the L could drop out before or after sound changes. So we could end up with like a da or do, you know, do.
No.
Just keeps going. Or we could have the full dao there.
Yeah. And then I don't know if the answer to this question would inform it, but we could ask ourselves if we're going to keep that word, ball, to mean side. I mean, I don't really see why we shouldn't.
I think we should. But I may just be primed by the fact that I'm reading what one was this called? It's the one book, not the other book. It's either Genesis of Grammar or Origins of Grammar. One of those titles. I've forgotten the name of it. Anyway, and there's this whole thing about how, you know, obviously lexical items can stay, and how phonological reduction is not necessary for grammaticalization, and in fact it's sort of a final sort of final, sometimes this is the case step of grammaticalization anyway. But so the discussion of it all is very, because I think a lot of times when I grammaticalize something, I'm very prone to wanting to reduce it. But then again, when we're grammaticalizing things, a lot of times we're turning it into an affix, in which case it makes sense to have phonological reduction if it's an affix. But anyway.
It's like how over the years, Watergate changed to Watergate.
That's not like even a suffix, David. That's the original name, and now we've turned the gate into a suffix.
Yeah.
It wasn't a suffix.
Like Jesse Gut.
Keep that up. I'll gut this creativity session.
Well, let us...
And it was Genesis of Grammar. I got the right word. It's
Right.
your middle name, David. I should have known. Genesis of Grammar.
Let us add our new word.
You know, we just learned, I wonder if that's true, that Ludgate may have actually come from Floodgate or Fleetgate. Yes! Here it is. That they were not making that up. Like, they think, some people posit that Ludgate, which is in London, originally came because it was like actually a gate and a river went under or through it, one of those, and that people posit that it actually came from Floodgate, hence the water, or Fleetgate because it was the Fleet River, or the River Fleet, I believe is what they kept calling it.
Famous sound change, F goes to 0 at the beginning of a word.
You know, this is phonological reduction, David. I swear. Where are you?
Oh, because it was people misinterpreted because it would so often co-occur with the word duff, which was the old word for the.
Is David still talking? I don't even know.
All right. I've got side entered.
Oh, I'll get it entered on the other side. As I shake my head at you. That means we have a commutative strategy, yes?
Yes. Or would that be odd?
What?
Stay with grammar, Bubba. Fred becoming red, becoming red.
Bye, Bubba.
Because we had frater, right? Is
So you're not talking about lo hakish right now.
no, I'm talking about a potential sound change. We have frater in Latin that becomes hermano in Spanish. And at some point, basically, F went to H everywhere, not just at the beginning of a word. And was a vowel just inserted because they didn't like ra? So like frater becomes rater becomes rater. I don't know where the N came from.
Happened, I was going to say, because you get an M and an N. And so things happened.
Hermano.
According to Wiktionary,
Oh my god, hermano is not from frater?
it is not. It's
What?
from Germanus.
Oh, cousin. That makes sense.
Oh my gosh, compared to English Germain,
Yeah.
it displaced Old Spanish fradre,
Fradre?
which I think you can see why that got replaced.
¿Es tu padre o tu fradre?
And so
Oh my god.
that was that story. So you were just wrong all around.
Okay, so what would happen to fradre? I guess did the F stayed before R, didn't it? Because we have fruta, right?
Yeah, frio.
Frio. And frio that can't be a modern reborrowing. That has to be pretty old. Wow.
In Francia.
Oh my goodness. And French language in Hungarian is Franciaul.
Yeah.
That's so
Franciaul.
cute. Franciaul. Okay, now let me add the actual prepositional thingy.
But yeah, F dropping out at the beginning of a word doesn't, especially the beginning of a consonant cluster, does not seem that far-fetched. Good old weak F.
F dropping.
Yeah, you drop that F. See what happens. Mm-hmm. I hear you typing. I want to see if I can find you. I apparently cannot. It says you're here, but nothing new is being typed here. Where were you typing?
In the D section?
The document tells me you're in coordination.
No.
It took me to you, and they lied.
We don't need that.
Man. There you are. All right. Ondao with.
No, I don't need that. All right.
You didn't take out the ondao, did you?
I didn't take out the ondao.
Okay.
All right, that's good. So now we can focus on our coordination strategy.
Which is going to be shiny and new.
Yeah. So what do you like, Jess?
I need a thinking Kopiko. Celebrate that we made a decision.
Oh, you couldn't have made me happier.
Celebrate that I'm here for the stream.
Woo!
Because if that trial had gone on and if I had been on the jury, I would not be here today. Because it was going to go through the week and potentially next. So, yay! Oh, let me cheers you. I've already started just ripping
Cheers.
open my Kopiko unceremoniously.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I can't get mine open. I'm sorry. This is really loud. I'm so sorry. So sorry. Okay.
Oh, yes.
I'm glad I was spared too, 'cause let me tell you, there were some bad analogies being dropped in that courtroom. I wanted to raise my hand.
Kopiko, enjoy the ceremony. I would have loved to have heard about this trial, because I can only imagine that this would have been one of those lawyers, you know. And I do wish to point out that given this fact that there had been a consumption of alcoholic beverages, therefore it can be assumed that it was leading to a state of drunkenness. And therefore, that is against the law.
I will say, the last jury I sat on, and that one I actually sat on through the whole trial and everything. Like, we actually did the deliberation, and I was on the jury for real. At the end of the trial, the judge was like, you don't have to, but if you want to stick around and give like feedback to the lawyers, they would love to just speak with you and get your feedback on how the case went, what they could have done better, whatever. Let me tell you, I stuck behind to tell one of the lawyers things I noticed on their PowerPoint presentation that were pretty damn bad and that should not have made it to the courtroom, including clip art that was pulled to demonstrate a driver of a car. But this was supposed to go on a slide, so it was on a slide that was supposed to be giving us the logistics of how this thing happened. There was a car crash involved. And the clip art not only showed a smiling driver, showed a British smiling driver, because the seatbelt was going the wrong direction, which was not at all helpful for the argument of how injuries were sustained. And I was like, what? So anyway, yes, you can, after the trial is over, after the verdict is read, in some cases, they will invite you to stay after to speak. But again, not required. It's just if you have feedback.
Most of the time, jurors usually just leave a Yelp review, which you're encouraged to do.
So not true. Don't let David fool you. But all that is to say, I literally stayed to be like, here's where you went wrong, and please don't do that again if you plan on getting the next one. I have nothing against British clip art, but if you're trying to argue about how the seatbelt caused a certain kind of injury, make sure all art on your page has the seatbelt on the correct shoulder of the drawing. Just absolutely. So, David,
you're the coordinator.
Oh, I get to coordinate?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here we go. Do I show up as pink on your screen?
No.
That's sad. I made my cursor outlined in pink and everything on this one. I'm very excited.
That's pretty cool. That's weird. Usually you're supposed to show up as at least a different color.
Well, what's your color when you highlight?
It's the same as yours, light blue.
Oh, highlight something. I want to see in mine. Yeah, you're orange in mine still. Okay. Yeah, you're orange and I'm pink in mine. That is how I have assigned it, and I'm glad to say. Oh, I have rosy cheeks. Why, thank you.
I don't know if I can edit that on my end. While Jesse types, let's none of us forget that Jake and Miles have a stream every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Time called Let's Have a Booba. the stream is primarily Miles telling us about American reality television, and Jake making spot-on, devastating commentary. Gives rise to a chuckle, but you don't want to be caught in the crosshairs.
Okay. We have an opening segment. Now I just got to decide.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Lohakish has a series of coordinating conjunctions to join constituents within clause structures. A series? A series? These
Well, we're going to have more than and.
We are? Okay. These delightful little uniters are distinct to Lohakish. That is, they did not come from those shaggy off speakers. A selection of the Saliq coordinating conjunctions of Lohakish are outlined here.
Mm-hmm.
I like this.
All right, and so we're going to have... Wait, I should actually get that too. Here I am. All right, this will get filled in momentarily. You just be patient, David.
Okay.
I hear you. I hear you breathing.
That's what Jesse says every night as we go to sleep.
I hear you breathing. Trying to get to sleep.
Like, I don't even know what to do with David's impressions of me. They get more and more rural country old lady all the time. And I'm not entirely sure.
Are real? I'm not trying to do a real impression of you.
Did you did you mention that Con Langery has an episode?
I did.
Okay, I missed that. I was...
What? Oh, wait, no, I didn't. Oh, no, I just mentioned Tons and Runes. Con Langery, you know, the main, George's main podcast, where he interviews people about, you know, language creation, is he's interviewing us, and it's coming out Monday, and where we're talking about, among other things, Kopicon 2 and Superman, and our new Kryptonian language, which is in there,
Yay.
by the way. It's in the background, kind of, but it plays kind of a crucial point. I don't know what I was looking for. A crucial part. Anyway, definitely give it a look.
Okay. We're going to come up with 3. Basic ones. With, of course, the ability to say there's more down the road. I feel like I have an eyelash, like, tickling the edge of my eye. Okay. So. Oh no, Tethys. If that was an impression of future Jesse, like, we are all in for
Goodness
something.
gracious, no.
Oh my gosh, it was an eyelash. I got it.
Nice.
I got it.
These are
And now-
efficiently foxy words.
I have blown it off for my wish to come true. Okay. I still feel a bit of a little tickle just from leftover, but
I'd never heard of that, by the way, until I was an adult.
the eyelash thing.
Yeah.
So
I believe from Seinfeld. I think that's where I heard it from.
what episode is that?
I don't remember if we've come to it yet in our rewatch. It's where the girl that, gosh, is it George or Jerry is dating has unusually large hands.
I don't think we've come to it. Also, Jonathan Goodness, that, yeah, cat hairs. Woo, those are much more difficult to get out of eyes than eyelashes. Trying to decide, in terms of, sorry, now my eye just itches. Babe, like, I may need to go get eye drops.
I'm sorry, honey.
Like, it may have been more than an eyelash. We, you know, have the windows open, and so sometimes just like my allergies can kick up, and I feel like that's happening right now.
It's really lovely, though, by the way. I mean, it's the middle of July, and it's 76 degrees with a slight breeze. It's just lovely.
Where do you think we should be pulling these from, given the way the grammar has been working so far? In terms of whether these should be more verby or preposition-y, noun-y.
So, the prepositions and the way that we had that coordinating instruction worked in Hauhoff, the way that worked in Hauhoff, it was a prepositional phrase. So it feels to me like if the foxes are not going to use that as a coordinator, then they should not be using prepositional phrases.
Okay.
So they need to go somewhere else. Verbs seems like a good option.
Had we decided?
Serial constructions.
Had we decided? Yes, participles. Okay, so we do have participles that were formed later. These could be early constructions
Yeah, these would
that
have to
are
be early ones.
pre-participles. But I just wanted to make sure we did have participle-like things. And we do. Okay. Trying to think of what fox thinking of videos of foxes together. And here is a brainstorm of words that are coming to mind, David.
Okay.
Foxes often like play together, so verbs of that nature. They often, like, you'll see one and then another following. They do their cute little foxy pouncy thing, and like when they're playing, they do that to each other, so it's not just a hunting strategy. It's very cute. Of course, my favorite fox videos are the ones where you see foxes cuddling. Adorable. And I'm going to put Carrie on there. Carrie slash bite. Bite in the sense that, like, before they had working forepaws, if they wanted to move something to go with something else, they would have used their mouth. So not bite in the sense of, like, harmful. Okay, so this is my list.
Okay, so I think, unfortunately, even though semantically it's fantastic, I think we need to eliminate follow because that's what gives us our genitive.
Okay.
And now because I was just going to pull up to see if we had any of these words. Ooh. Is that a bird or a child?
That is a child.
Interesting.
So I'm also coming up with semantic connections then for some of the others, and for the or, I'm thinking of verbs like sniff, push, or nose, or nudge things. Just thinking of them like sorting things or choosing something where it's like you could use your nose to figure out which one you want. You could also paw it, like to paw. That's the verb, not the like to paw at something. Okay. Getting some good things here.
Yeah, I'm just adding these just for the heck of it. Right, of course.
I'm trying to think of other things. The only thing coming to mind for contrastive is like to turn, where it's like, I want to do this, but, and so it's like turning that. Could also be, oops, like to face. I want to run, seeing it's raining. But I see, but I learn something new. Oh, I got a little something there. Okay. David Bibb was asking if
Arbib?
what?
Arbib?
Yeah.
Nice.
If this language is spoken by specific species of fox or all foxes. Oh, good night, Aaron.
That is more of a demographics question for what type of foxes would be in the area. And as far as I know, there are Arctic foxes in Canada. Well, there are more of the orangey variety in the United States. And our theory is that things would move north as it gets warmer. And so they might have joined up the white and orange foxes.
Well, as it's getting warmer, the Arctic foxes would no longer be anywhere in that part of Canada.
I suppose, yeah.
I don't think they are. I think Arctic foxes are only like Arctic Circle. And CJ is saying you have to go way with lots of Y's north to find them.
Okay.
And so, yeah, unless an Arctic fox got stranded and had to become a Florida fox by their standards. But yeah, the red foxes, I think, and then Jonathan said, perhaps the gray foxes, because gray foxes don't currently live in that area, but as things warm up, perhaps they could. Yeah, the area is, I think, if I remember correctly, David, close to Toronto.
Yeah, north of Toronto. Wasn't it Emily Lake? Isn't that our?
Yeah, I think that's what it was called.
And in terms of specific speciation, we of course welcome any feedback, especially from, you know, those whose, you know, spec bio YouTube channels have amassed more than 150,000 subscribers.
And yeah, it's the Emily Provincial Park, and there's a lake there.
Yeah.
It's in the heart of the Kawarthas. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly.
Heart of the what?
Kawarthas?
How do you spell it?
Kawarthas. But it's Ontario. Oh, CJ says I did it right. Yay! I'll take that.
Gray foxes are fun because they're the only canids to have retractable claws. How about that?
Really? Here, do you want me to take that on? Because my side, I've got a
Bit of
little barrier.
you know, famous conlanging history. Sally Cave's Teonath was originally spoken by these cat gods, or their gods were cats. And one of the things that she wrote in Teonath is the expression, the gods have retractable claws because the gods are cats.
That is really cool. I used some Teonath in the textbook, and so I was able to chat with Sally about that. It's exciting.
All right, so we have at least one form for all of these. Where we don't have a form, it means that that word does not yet exist, and so we could create it. You'll notice that with this one, that is a noun. We still don't have a word for nose.
I think
Remember?
Right. And I do think, well, not only do we need a word for the actual nose, because I think they would distinguish between the two, because they are, unlike our, well, I mean, we have nostril versus nose, but like, they have nostril, nose, and snout. And unlike ours, it's like, that's a pretty big difference in terms of texture, in terms of like how it would feel and look from the outside. I also do like the idea of having a verb that means to use the nose, whether it's the noun just gets used as a verb or however that ends up working. Because dogs do that too. They use their noses to, you know, like nudge around the ground and stuff. And again, like this language would have, I believe in the lore, the way we've been saying it was some of the very proto-forms started before they became upright. Is that correct, David?
Yeah.
Okay. Which means that, you know, this really old word that meant to move with the nose could end up being, you know, like a different meaning for today. Like they probably wouldn't use their noses like that anymore, but it could just exist in grammatical things like this and no longer exist as a main verb, or it could change meanings.
Given the way that how off works, though, it seems just as likely that they would simply use the noun as a verb, since anything can be kind of put into any class.
Okay.
So it really is, it's only a word if we want it. Well, this is interesting. Hold on a sec. I have an idea. Given the grammatical nature of Hauhoff, it could indeed be the case that they simply use the word for nose or snout to push something around with the nose or the snout. But there might also be an older word And that word is no longer used to mean that in Hauhof. It just means to use. And then the word is in Lohakish, where it still does mean to push around with the nose. And maybe it only surfaces as one of these coordinators.
I would suggest a semantic extension of to cover, because that is the way I see dogs doing it. They'll dig, and then they use their nose to cover it back up. Like when they bury bones.
Okay, so don't create a new word then.
We don't have anything meaning to cover.
Wait.
I'm saying, you said like it could mean to use,
Yeah.
and I'm saying like instead of to use, have it mean to cover or to bury.
Huh. We have to bury. We don't have to cover.
Oh, okay. It could just be used. That's fine. I was just trying to make a connection with how I have seen those.
Well, then let's do it. Okay, so what do you want, or what are you imagining for the sound of this word? And I can run it through both sets of sound changes if you'd like, if you want to hear what it is.
I was not thinking sounds. I was just trying to get a list of semantics. So like I
No, I
have
know.
no. For a different root, Miles is suggesting what? Pharyngealized B-U-A-T.
Let's. But Miles was suggesting that for pounce.
I know, that's why I said for a different root.
You meant R-O-O-T. I thought you meant R-O-U-T-E.
That would be a route, David. Miles dropping this. Copicon 3 should be in Emily Provincial Park. I mean.
Be very outdoorsy, wouldn't it?
But we could go to Toronto
That's true. It is
and
pretty
like just
cool
have a
there.
day trip to Emily Provincial Park. Like we don't have to stay there.
That's true.
That we have some time to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And not to push you, David, but if you get this thing moving, maybe Copicon 3 could be the debut of like the game. and by that I mean right now we're debuting playtest versions.
Yeah.
Imagine if it were the professionally printed version.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this playtest that's coming up.
I am too.
I'm gonna be devastated if we play it and it's all printed out. It looks nice, and Biblioreading says, I'm not a big fan of the changes.
Not allowed. Not allowed. Oh, Danielle, you're right. LARPing Sovala on site. My God, I'm a mouse. I need to bring my tank. Okay, my cute little cardboard cutout tank that I just like carry around my shoulders.
Okay, and then oh wow, there's no changes if it's palatalized. I'm going ahead and adding
Okay.
this word to pounce on
Oh, wonderful.
because I liked it, but oh, what a lie! I see that I was on Lohakish. That's why. Yeah, there are changes. Yeah, I see 'em. Okay. Let's grab.
Oh, sorry. My YouTube playback is frozen. I hope we're still on.
Oh.
Do you have feed?
Yeah.
Everything's
Jonathan says everything's fine.
okay. Like mine's just like not showing the video at all. So, but chat is still going. So, and everyone's saying we're good. So we're just gonna move on with it. I just can't see if I'm in frame as I move about in my chair. I try to check and make sure I'm not at a weird position. And I needed to be thinking about what I wanted the sound of nose to be. And I don't know yet. I don't know.
I'll put things in the sound changer for you. If you just want to play around, see what.
Well, first I'm trying to see where you are in Hora, so that way I can put it on the English side.
I am at the bottom of the B's.
The bottom, okay. With an underdot, buat. And this is just going to be to pounce on?
Yeah.
Got that on the English side.
Good. And these can all be mightily reduced in terms of coordinators.
Yeah. Guess I could also pull up Lexergy. That would be a thing. Ooh. So I may have a winner.
Okay.
Well, at least a starting point. We can change how it ends. I put in labialized Q, U, and then that H, the pharyngeal H. And in Haugauf it comes out as gruch, gruch. And I kind of like we only have one KV start to a word so far. And I think that's kind of fun.
Okay, putting this into the Haugauf. Gwoof? Gwoof? Was it?
With an H, yeah. We can change that final. I'm not married to that part. I do like the kvu part. So kwoosh, kwoosh,
I like it.
Any of those would work.
What does it come out in Lohakish?
I have not looked yet.
All right, let me pop over. I'll just tell everybody. Kvo. I'm sorry, kvo.
Kvo.
Kfoh.
Oh, I like
Kvo.
that. I like that.
With the H too?
Well, like I said, we can change it. I just like the beginning, the kvu and the kvo, like how it ends. I'm not.
Well, I'm asking you if you like it. Kvo.
I'm good with it. Yes.
All right, let's do it. Okay. Start with Haugauf. It's gonna be in the caves.
Madeline had to run off.
Our Madeline?
Madeline ran off. Friends came over.
Is she gonna bring them to the stream so that they can watch? We'll be on our best behavior.
Oh, Miles is suggesting Murdoch Mysteries. Have we seen Murdoch Mysteries?
No, we haven't.
What is this? Ooh, Toronto in the 1890s and early 1900s.
Dang.
There's 18 seasons.
Dang.
Like, I think it's still going. It started in 2008. This seems like something we should be watching.
All right.
We should add that to our list if we can find where to stream it. Where do we stream it, Miles?
Yeah. It's probably going to be on like some Canadian streaming service like the Maple Leaf. Ooh, I like the way that word looks.
Oh, that is nice.
And then gua. Good. So then let's just get the UH. All right,
CJ said it's basically the Canadian version of CSI.
Ah.
But in the 1890s/1900s, which makes it far more interesting.
Yeah, I would think.
Yes.
What does this mean? What's this word mean?
To use.
What?
That was what you had suggested, yeah? To use?
No. What's this word supposed to mean?
Well, it was the old meaning was to nose.
All right. To push with the nose. Archaic. And then...
But then it's like, if we did have it, because they do
means to
push,
cover, right?
but they do push each other with their noses, right?
Yeah.
And so it could mean to use, like, or to prod, or to...
Well, to use doesn't mean to prod.
Okay. So, yeah, to cover.
All right. All right. To cover. I'm so tired, Jesse. Everybody was supposed to help me, and they're not helping me.
I'm here.
They were supposed to give me coffee brownie cookies.
Oh, yeah. But in 25 minutes, if you force yourself to keep going, you're going to get peach cobbler with ice cream.
Jake, this is what you can do to help. Find out if Murdoch Mysteries is streaming on any service in the United States.
Miles was supposed to answer that. Did Miles not answer? Miles! Calling you out here. Be better than Congress.
Okay. And so now that...
And so we have kfo was the word, right? Kfo. And that's how it came out in Lo Hakish.
Oh, yeah.
And I would assume that probably would reduce.
Here. I've got it. Okay. So, like, we've got lots of options here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, David.
Huh?
David.
Yeah.
Do you want to make this
Netflix. Nice. Okay.
a 2-part poll? And, like, since it's already been voted on that we'll have a shiny new coordinator, we could have a vote for which coordinator should win for at least one of these.
Boy, it really seems like we're stretching things out.
I'm just trying to help.
What
We
you,
can do relative classes next.
Yeah, I know. What you can help with is just take a look and see what you like. Especially look at the butt one. Do you like just Shay, or do you think that we should get another one?
I actually do like Shay.
Okay.
And I would assume shorten to just Shay
Yeah.
instead of Shay.
Yeah. Do we have...
I like that because to me it suggests like here's this option, but then it's like seeing this other thing. It's like this other thing is happening, and so it's a nice contrast. I think like that's how I semantically came up with that one.
I do have a question though.
Yeah.
I have a vague memory.
Of
My vague memory was the yes/no question also coming from to C, but it isn't come from to C. It just sounds like C.
it's C.
Yeah.
Does
All
it happen to come from? No, it wouldn't come from to tumble to play with. Where does that come from? Where does the yes no come from?
What? To wag a tail.
To wag a tail. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious because and may also end up as C, and it comes from a different. No, it comes from the same source.
It comes from the same source.
To wag a tail and to play with are the same things.
Yes, wagging the tail is the original meaning.
Ah, see, I
This is weird.
was also thinking more of, front paws being involved in this playing with.
Yeah.
And so wagging the tail did not.
No, it's got to be pounced then.
Yeah, I will definitely take that one out of the running.
All right. How do we do this?
Sorry, we can put the origin there instead, and then we can list examples below. Like instead of because I put that as like a potential like noun phrase, and then yeah, like that.
All right.
Yeah. And then bull for and. Oh, nice. Thank you, CJ. And then Miles did chime in and say it's also on Hulu here in the US. And so usually for us, it seems to only be on one in its entirety.
Yeah.
A lot of times others will have like random seasons. And Prime has now instituted commercials, and so definitely we'll look into the Hulu. All right, or
Well, you tell me, Jake, because my favorite noun phrase is my good friend Jake.
just because I like its semantic origins, I'm gonna go with kpo, what we had just created, for or.
Ooh.
And then we'll decide how to reduce it from there.
I mean, it's probably just going to reduce to kvo.
Oh, that's delightful.
I'm dying of tired. Okay, and what did we say that were we was we gonna have any modern reflex?
I'm torn between saying no, like this is the only way it's still in the language. They lost it and started using other things as, they use their pause more, and so they just kind of lost this meaning. Or we could give it a different meaning, like we would just give it a completely different meaning from what I got in Halgoff. But I think I'm leaning towards it just being like, this is an old thing, that here it is, and
Love it.
there's no modern verb.
All right. All right, let's enter these. And maybe while I do that, you can just think about relative clauses. What are we doing and how off?
Yeah. One thing we will need to decide, David,
Yes.
before we move on too far,
Oh.
is position of these relative to the noun phrases, or phrases rather, that they're joining. I was thinking in between, simply because that's
It's a serial construction
Yeah.
of verbs.
yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so it's in between, which means we don't necessarily. I'm gonna just put that.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. They occur between the constituents being joined. Done. Okay. Relative clauses in Hauhof. I'm gonna
What does or mean?
put that. What does or mean? OR?
How do you call it? Is it like a disjunctive coordinator?
It's a coordinating conjunction.
Which one is it? You know.
See, I put selective.
Okay.
Is that the word?
I don't know. Sounds fine. Selective coordinator. Now, and that comes from the beautiful word
Mm-hmm.
QUH. Push with the nose. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
To push with the nose, yeah.
Okay.
And it was labialized Q.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has been interred. Okay. And now next. Bow, right?
Yeah, that's the and.
The anditive.
Indeed. I'm gonna need help with the Halgoff. When we get there, I'll go get and or and but entered on the English side.
And this comes from blot. Pounce on.
I don't know. Goodness.
And then the
Wake up, babe.
and is the coordinative coordinator.
I put additive
Additive.
because you're joining things.
The jointative. Okay. Good. And now the last one is shay, which is the buttative.
Contrastive.
Contrastive.
Have I had time to rehearse my farewell song for the end of the episode? Will there be fanfare and merriment, streamers and glitter?
Well, have you?
No.
Better get to
Was this
rehearsing.
promised? Did you promise this last week while I
Better.
was gone?
Better get to rehearsing, Jess. My goodness. There's not much time left.
Everyone's going to be so disappointed in me.
Right. Bye, CJ. Oh, Jake. What art thou doing to thy body? I've entered all of the coordinators. All are entered.
Okay, David.
Mm-hmm.
I am typing up some options.
Cool. And I want to ask you a quick question. Did you want or intend or desire for the pounce on verb to be a modern verb as well? I felt like the answer was yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. See about entering that.
Okay.
To hug.
What is hugging?
It hasn't been entered. Darn it. But it does end in a T. Perfect. Oh, perfect. Oh, perfect. That means it'll have the same. Okay. Bose. It's actually getting downright chilly, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Can you believe it? Like, it's overcast. It's dark out there. I'm just going to go up here and look at the hug one because it will be the same. Zbo, Tov. Zbo. And then that should just be Tov. And this is going to be an S. Boso. And that is to pounce on. You pounce on Osbo. Alright, but now I can enter hug very easily because it's just peace and the same. That's 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes. And now an F. Alright, and this one's going to be probably that. Yes. To hug. Not to hunt, but to hug. Feast. And then pounce. Bose. Alright. Let's throw those in. Yeah. I did it, Jess. I did it. I did 2 things. And I'm
Okay.
gonna go to bed. Oh.
David really left. And David's not in the part of the document where I am, I don't think. I can't tell because my video is still dead on YouTube. There we go. I think I may be back. No? Yeah, I'm going to say David left me in a different place. So, just believe me that I am doing
good. The sun's
things.
coming out again. Can't wait. It was getting so cold. The whole point of summer is to get to enjoy the warmth. So whenever it's like cold out, I feel cheated. All right, now going up.
I am typing some options for you to consider.
Holy smoke. Are you in the Loha Quiche document?
Yeah.
Are you on page 48 or 47?
16.
So, not only am I not getting your color for, highlighting, but jumping to you on the cursor isn't working either.
You know what's fun? I already mentioned that this stream, David, when I tried to find you and you had to tell me that you were in the bees. But yeah, I'm on page 15/16. I typed up 4 options to consider for a relative clause style poll, and we can decide if we like these or not.
I'm in the Halgoff document.
David's in the Halgoff document.
And this does work.
Yay! Okay.
All right.
So option 1 that I laid out was that we have some sort of introductory relativizer, which would work like a subordinating conjunction. And we could end up using this subordinating conjunction for like more subordinating clauses. So like this could be a strategy that goes wider across the language, not just for relative clauses, but effectively this would be like, all of these are based on the fox who built a house saw a rabbit.
Okay.
That's what's happening. So who built a house is what we're looking at. We have VSO word order in this language, so we would end up with like saw fox, conjunction, built house she, rabbit. I'm gonna say this one will have a resumptive pronoun. Let's just not even make that. Option 2 would be to have a special relative pronoun that gets fronted even before the verb as like an area of focus, and this is something that languages do. If you have movement, it can go to the front of the clause to signal, hey, special clause here. Mm-hmm. And so I've just used who as the stand-in for that. So
okay.
Saw fox, who built house, rabbit. We could have a gapped structure. So relative clause is just going to go in. So it'll be like saw fox, built house, rabbit. Mm-hmm. And then option 4, we're going to have with a resumptive pronoun. With or without. We can talk about that because this one is kind of like what we do in Chicopsa. Saw fox, built, and then some sort of special inflection to indicate relative clause, which could also indicate subject, depending on how that works. And then house, and so with or without the, pronoun there.
I think option 4 is like option 2, but without fronting, yeah?
I put the pronoun in the wrong place in option 1. Anyway. Option 4 is exactly like that and effectively without fronting, right? Like that's what you just said, option 4 and 2?
Yeah, option 4 is like option 2, but instead of the who being fronted, the who is in C2.
The who gets glommed onto the verb is the difference.
Oh, because this language actually has
Yes.
subject agreement. Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Now let's go back to option 1, though.
Yeah.
You said you put the she in the wrong place.
Because it's VSO. And I put built house she. I changed it?
Yeah. Can we consider your original option, though, as well?
Oh, built house she?
Yeah.
Yeah, if that's... My question there is that then... Is it just like the final position is the resumptive pronoun, even if it occurs
That was what I thought.
And so whether it's object or subject, it would occur in that spot. So like the fox I saw
so
built a house.
how about here, hold on a sec. I know this is going to get confusing, but the fox that I saw a rabbit.
And so two things are emerging here that we would need to make a split between. The first is that in a case like the third one that David just did, it's still VSO.
Yeah, but it's only incidentally VSO.
Right. This would be VOS because it's the slot that matters. Miles is asking or said like, hey, maybe have it be VOS in those clauses. That could be interesting like that, or that was not exactly how you said it, but there you go. Something like that format, but if that were the case, the she would occur after saw, even as the resumptive pronoun. So the question is it a word order thing where there's a word order shift to signal this is a weird clause? Or is it a slot filling thing where it says the resumptive thing goes in this final slot regardless of its function within the clause?
It's the latter.
Okay.
And so there are a number of ways to do this, but there's a gap here, and because I believe for both of these,
They would look different.
here, let's separate these two.
Actually, for this one,
This is in the nominative because this is in the nominative.
our third person nominative, accusative, and genitive collapsed.
Seriously?
And so it's all just key.
We do have that contrastive that is a special nominative.
Yeah. Wait, so the she would be extra clausal.
Yeah. Because that was for whatever reason, when you put your first example up before you switch the word order, that's just what I thought in my head. That's what I felt.
I would actually then argue that just to show how I'm understanding the structure of this, the clause actually ends there, and this is like extra clausal, where it's like, here's the clause, here's the focus element. So it's effectively like saying Fox built house, she, that one, saw a rabbit.
Yeah, and then just the verb isn't there anymore.
And so it's basically like this takes the place of this. The she repeats the entire element being described to kind of pull it into focus.
Yeah.
So that way, no matter how long that relative clause gets, you pull it back and say she, or
Yeah. And
I, or whoever.
And that effectively is how I interpreted your very first example.
Okay.
So this is what I want to suggest. I want to suggest option 1A. Do we need this?
Oh, did I describe it? If I described it properly, then no, we don't need that.
Option 1B. And I don't like option 3.
Okay. Yeah, take that out.
Option 4 is now the new option 3. Though we could actually call these 2A and 2B, even though they're kind of different.
They relatively, like David had mentioned, they kind of do the same thing. It's just one, you actually front the special form that says I'm, and we would have like relative pronouns, and we would need them to be different cases depending on what they're doing in the clause structure, versus the other one, it's sort of like that same relative form came after the verb and ended up glomming on, and in that case it could bleach to the point where there's just one thing that says I'm a relative agreement for the verb form. And so yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So we have, I think, 4 solid options.
Yeah, that option 2B, just to kind of make sure everybody understands, we'll have to add to these tables here.
Yeah, that is one of the drawbacks, I think, because I think we had worked hard to get those tables where they were. But
it's a meaty one.
yeah,
I don't envy the people that have to read the post that I'm eventually going to write and then vote on it.
I'm kind of enjoying the weirdness of 1B. And so I'm just going to throw that out there.
Right on.
Because it like takes what you would expect and then adds this little twist at the end of repetition that almost acts like languages that have 2 particles that surround. And so you get particle 1, clause, particle 2. And it's like you would end up getting that third person singular key form so often that it would almost end up, or kita, depending on, if it's a contrastive, it would almost end up like becoming a second particle that closes off the relative clause structure. And that's just kind of cool.
Yeah, I did that as a relative clause strategy for my language in JAMA in the old days, except that I didn't really have any idea how you could use that type of a thing or why it would emerge. I just invented start one, end one.
Nice.
Nice to come back and do it right every so often. All right.
Yay. Yeah, we need to go. It's past 4. David needs his cobbler and ice cream. He needs to be rewarded for staying awake.
We
So
also have a meeting at 5.
we have a meeting at 5?
Yeah.
Did not know about that. All right. Well, thank you all for being here. And we will see you next week for the very special episode 24 of season 7 on 7/24. Yay!
Yeah. Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.